Most people watching this project assumed it was straightforward. Guy buys a wrecked hypercar, fixes it up, drives it around, posts the results. Classic YouTube rebuild content. But the longer you watch what Matt Armstrong is actually doing in that garage, the more you realize something else is unfolding, something the hypercar industry has never had to deal with before. Because this isn't just a rebuild. It might be the most consequential thing to happen to hypercar ownership in decades. Let's start with the system. The one that's existed quietly, unchallenged, for as long as hypercars have existed. When you buy a Bugatti, a Veyron, a Chiron, it doesn't matter. You're entering into a relationship that goes well beyond the transaction. Yes, you have the title. Yes, it sits in your garage. But the moment something goes wrong, something breaks, something needs diagnosing, you find out very quickly what kind of owner you actually are. Because you can't call an independent shop. There's no aftermarket support network waiting for you. There's no service manual sitting on a shelf somewhere that walks a skilled technician through what to do. The path forward has always led to exactly one place, back to the manufacturer. Back to Molsheim, France. Back to Bugatti. And that system, that total structural dependency, isn't a coincidence. It was built, layer by layer, into the very engineering of these cars. The tolerances on a Veyron's drivetrain are so precise that you can't approximate them. You can't eyeball fits measured in fractions of a millimeter. You can't compensate with experience and intuition the way you might on a classic restoration. There's simply no margin for close enough. And without the factory's proprietary diagnostic equipment, without their engineers, without their institutional knowledge, the official position has always been, you're not equipped to do this yourself. Nobody outside these walls is. That's not just a practical reality. It's a mechanism of control. And it has worked, completely and without serious challenge, for decades. Until now. Here's what makes Matt's project different from anything that's come before it. He's not just attempting a repair. He's working against every layer of that system simultaneously and documenting the whole thing in real time. Think about what that actually involves. First, there's the physical damage itself, the obvious problem that kicked everything off. But that's almost the easy part. Underneath it, there's the parts problem. A wrecked Bugatti cannot be repaired with off-the-shelf components. There's no catalog, no warehouse, no third-party supplier openly advertising Veyron parts on a website somewhere. Every component that gets sourced has to be hunted down through channels that aren't exactly advertised. Donor cars. Specialist dismantlers in Europe operating in a gray zone between official and unofficial. Private collectors who parted out vehicles quietly, without any public record. Former factory engineers who know where components tend to end up after cars get written off. In other words, a shadow network. One that technically exists, but has never been fully surfaced or acknowledged, because nobody doing a rebuild like this has ever had a reason to drag it into the light before. Then there's the knowledge problem, which is even harder than the parts problem. Because even if you find the right component, you still need to understand how it fits into a system of almost incomprehensible complexity. These aren't cars engineered like normal vehicles. The W16 engine, the quad-turbo system, the transmission, the cooling architecture, these systems are interdependent in ways that aren't intuitive and aren't documented anywhere outside the factory. Understanding how they interact isn't something you can learn from a forum post or a YouTube comment. It has to be earned, the hard way, through trial and error and the slow accumulation of hands-on experience. And sitting above all of it, there's the cost barrier. Hypercar components don't operate on the same economic planet as normal vehicle parts. Every step of this rebuild costs money that most people will never see in a lifetime, and that's assuming you can even find what you need. 5 layers of difficulty, stacked on top of each other, all reinforcing the same conclusion the industry has always wanted owners to reach. You can't do this without us. Matt is working through all 5 at the same time. But here's the piece that nobody is talking about enough, the part that actually matters most in the long run. It's not whether the car gets fixed. It's what has to be created in order to fix it. Every time a part gets sourced outside official channels, that shadow network becomes slightly more visible, slightly more connected, slightly more real. Every time a system gets studied and understood outside the factory, that knowledge enters the world in a form that can spread, that can be referenced, built on, used by the next person who needs it. Every problem that gets solved independently chips away, just a little, at the wall that manufacturer dependency is built on. Because the wall isn't made of titanium or carbon fiber. It's made of knowledge. Specifically, the absence of knowledge outside a very small number of people inside a factory in eastern France. That's the real mechanism. The complexity of these cars isn't just an engineering achievement. It's a barrier. And barriers only work when what's on the other side stays on the other side. This rebuild is moving knowledge to the other side. Not through espionage. Not through leaks. Through something far more difficult and far more legitimate. Genuine problem solving, documented in public, creating reference points that didn't exist before. The kind of documentation that a future builder will find when they're 3 weeks into a similar project and hitting a wall, and suddenly realize that someone already hit that same wall and figured out how to get past it. That's how precedents work. And precedents, once they exist, don't disappear. Think about what it would mean if this project succeeds. Not just completes, but succeeds independently, without the factory's blessing, without proprietary tools or official technicians. It would mean that someone working outside the system, with parts sourced through channels Bugatti doesn't control, using knowledge built from scratch through hands-on experience, put one of the most complex machines ever engineered back together, and it ran. It would mean the knowledge barrier isn't absolute. And that's the thing manufacturers may fear more than any rebuild failing. A rebuild failing confirms the narrative. These cars are too complex, the barriers are too high, only we can do this. A rebuild succeeding destroys it. Because you can't unprove something. You can't look at a running car that was put back together independently and pretend the path that created it doesn't exist. The roadmap is there. Other people will follow it. There's a deeper question buried in all of this, one that the industry has never had to answer seriously because it's never been seriously tested. What does it actually mean to own something? Legally, it's simple. You have the title. The car is yours. But practical ownership, the ability to maintain it, repair it, keep it alive on your own terms, that's a different thing entirely. And for hypercar owners, practical ownership has always had a hidden asterisk. You own it, but only as long as we're willing to help you keep it. The moment we step back, the moment parts become unavailable or factory support ends, you own something you can no longer use. That's not ownership in any meaningful sense. That's a lease on a very expensive paperweight with better branding. The dependency model exists because there was no alternative. The knowledge lived exclusively inside the factory, so owners had no choice but to go back to the factory. It wasn't a conspiracy. It wasn't malice. It was just the way things were, because nobody had seriously challenged it yet. Matt Armstrong is seriously challenging it. And the effects are already spreading, whether the car finishes or not. Owners are watching parts get sourced that weren't supposed to be obtainable. They're watching systems get understood that weren't supposed to be understandable outside a factory environment. They're watching an ecosystem assemble itself in real time, not because anyone planned it, but because a hard problem attracted the kind of people who solve hard problems, and those people are finding each other. That ecosystem, once it exists, doesn't go away. The gears turning in that garage right now are doing something quieter and more durable than fixing a car. They're establishing that independent hypercar repair isn't a fantasy. That the knowledge required to keep these machines alive doesn't have to be the exclusive property of their manufacturers. That the wall, imposing as it looks, has never actually been tested by someone willing to document every step of what it takes to get through it. If the engine starts, when the engine starts, it won't just be the sound of a Bugatti returning to life. It'll be the sound of a door opening that the industry spent decades keeping closed. And once a door like that is open, it is very, very hard to close again. That's what's happening in that garage. That's why this rebuild matters beyond the car itself. Not because one man fixed one hypercar, but because in doing so, he may have just proven something that changes the terms of ownership for everyone who comes after him. The parts are fitted. The systems are mapped. The documentation exists that didn't a year ago. Now we wait for the engine.